And with that, let's turn to our practice for today. This week's Torah portion is Vayigash, and where it is the narrative denouement of the story of Joseph and his brothers. It begins, as the first word indicates, Vayigash, which means, and he drew near, he approached, came close. That is referring to Joseph's brother Judah, Yehudah, who has taken responsibility for the family's youngest sibling, Benjamin, who's been entrapped basically by Joseph so that he will have to stay with Joseph in Egypt while the brothers go back to Jacob in Canaan. And Judah approaches, the Torah portion begins with Judah approaching Joseph and entering into a deep conversation with Joseph. And the word Vayigash is interpreted by Rashi, the classic commentator, as having three connotations: drawing close, to do battle, to beseech, and to pray. But I just want to focus on the simple meaning of the word Vayigash, to come close, to approach, from a mindfulness perspective, from a Jewish mindfulness perspective. One of the key words that we use in Jewish mindfulness practice to indicate, first the Jewish aspect of it, and also what it really means, is the word hineni. I'm here, I'm present, I'm ready. The word hineni really means to be in the here and now. And sometimes we use the Hebrew term hitlamdut to describe the stance, the attitude that we adopt in such moments. Hitlamdut really can be translated as curious, non-judgmental attention to the truth of what is happening in this very moment. It's letting go of judgment, letting go of assumptions, letting go of preconceptions, and basically having an open mind, a clear mind, a broad mind, a wide perspective, a readiness, and a close attentiveness to what is happening in the moment. That's really the essence of why we meet every day, is really to try to strengthen that muscle within our capacity for that, not to be constantly in the past and not to be constantly focusing on the future, but to, as much as possible, stay in the moment, to be present, to be in that state of hineni. So the word Vayigash, I think, can be related to that. It can describe a process of coming close to the moment of what's happening right now. It's key in the narrative of Joseph because this is what cracks Joseph open. Joseph, who until this point has concealed who he is, concealed his identity from his brothers. When Judah approaches him and pleads with him, Joseph breaks open. He starts sobbing, he turns away, he turns around, and he reveals himself. And the process of reconciliation, or the healing process, begins to take place. However, the extent of healing or reconciliation takes place in the story. But something cracks and breaks open. There's a new possibility that emerges. And that's really the practice that we're striving for here to engage in, is that through our efforts, through our practice to stay present, new possibilities can emerge and open, which we may not have been able to see if we were only looking at the future. There's something about being in the present that unlocks new possibilities, and we have to allow them to emerge from being in the present. So this is our intention. This past week, some of you might have been at this Shabbaton that IJS had in New York City, a brief Shabbaton, and I shared for a meditation session there that on a walk over the Shabbat, a couple of phrases came to me as helpful phrases for meditation practice. The first is, "But I digress." And the second is, after "but I digress" is, "Now, where was I?" "But I digress, now where was I?" is a good shorthand for our practice, because we always digress. Our mind is traveling all over the place. We move off our intention and where we start and go somewhere else. And that's the but I digress. And as we're sitting in practice today, I want to invite you to just hold that phrase in mind. But I digress, and we're going to digress over the next 20 minutes or so. Our mind is going to wander away. But the response to that is now, where was I? And that is now I can come back. I can do tshuva. I can return to my original intention to be as present as possible, present in my body, present in my breath, present in my senses, present in my mind, present in my spirit. Our goal is to be, as we like to say, flush with our experience, 100% in the here and now. So I'm going to just share also before we move into our sit together, something I actually have shared at some point in the past with this group, which is just for me, a helpful phrase that I learned from a dear friend, a coach, a musical coach named David Brunetti here in New York City, who uses this phrase. And I find it also very, very helpful, especially when my mind digresses and I future trip and I catastrophize and I find myself spinning out in some way. It's a helpful phrase. Maybe it will be helpful for you as well. It's very simple. It's now, here, this, yes, perfect, thank you. I'll put it in the chat before and a little bit later at the end of our set. Don't have to memorize it. Now, here, this. Yes. Say yes to the experience. We say yes to now. Whatever is happening, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, we say yes to it. We don't avoid it. We're looking for the truth. Perfect can't be different than what it is in the moment. It's perfect as it is. And thank you. To cultivate gratitude simply for being alive in the moment. Now, hear this. Yes, perfect, thank you. I'll share that while we're sitting. So, Vayigash, and he approached. So we're going to approach. I invite you to find a position that's comfortable for you. The key Hebrew word in terms of finding a position, for me, is kavod. Kavod means honor, respect. I'm going to just begin by giving some kavod, some honor, some respect to our bodies, whatever the state of our body may be. So find a position that really feels comfortable for you, where you feel at ease, you feel supported by the chair. You can allow your eyes to close if that's a possibility for you. Or, as always, just let your gaze go to a soft focus. So you're not distracted by whatever you might see. If neither of those are available to you, the key here is just to bring attention inward. Bring attention inward. Vayigash, approach, come close. So we're going to come a little bit closer to our bodies and see if you can feel the sensation of the floor against your feet if possible. Really settling your feet into the ground and rooting down, really feeling the support, pressing your feet down into the floor, maybe spreading your toes, feeling the support of the chair or cushion underneath you, under your bottom, feeling the support of the backrest or whatever's behind you. Or if you prefer, you can scoot up a little bit to the front of the chair and just let your spine support you. Rolling the shoulders back a little bit. Again, kavod, honor, and pressing the crown of the head up and maybe tilting the chin slightly down. And just choose an anchor for your practice today that you can come back to. whatever is helpful for you, whatever feels maybe most available to you. Could be those sensations. Maybe you just want to come back to the sensation of your feet on the floor, or the sensation of the air in the room against your skin, or sounds, the soundscape of your space, as if you're listening, just listening to the soundtrack of your environment right now. Or your breath as it comes and goes at its own pace, seeing if you can let go of effort, just allow the breath to arrive and leave on its own. So any of these could be helpful anchors for our practice. We have a nice stretch of time, about 12 minutes for practice. And I'll invite us to work with those phrases, the Hebrew phrase, vayigash, as we stray from intention. Just come back, just come close again, come close to sensation, come close to your breath, come close to yourself. And see if you can bear in mind if it's helpful for you, or maybe even whisper to yourself, now, here, this, yes, perfect, thank you. So let's sit together, and I'll bring us back. If you have digressed, if your mind has wandered off, you're daydreaming, gone somewhere else, you can just use this moment to come back. Now, where were we? Back to the sensations, back to the temperature of the air in the room against your skin, back to your breath, back to home, now, back to here, back to this. And even if we just touch the moment for a microsecond, that's great. Last few minutes of our sit together. Remember to treat your body with kavod, with honor, with respect. So if you've noticed yourself slumping in your chair or losing that position, see if you can restore yourself to a position of kavod, honoring your being. You might want to honor yourself by putting your hand over your chest, over your heart, offering yourself that respect and honor. And remembering that this week the Torah is teaching us that truth will emerge if we come closer to it. We adopt a stance of approaching the truth like Judah approaches Joseph, who then reveals the truth. So we turn towards the truth of our experience with curiosity, courageously, without fear, with trust, with faith, just by being present to the truth moment by moment. And when we digress and turn away, we just keep coming back to it. What is true now? What is the wisdom of my body telling me now? What is the wisdom of my emotional life telling me now? What is being revealed in my state of mind now and here? What is being revealed in my deepest spiritual self right now? What is making itself known? We can end by receiving 3 deep breaths into the belly. Exhaling fully, really resetting ourselves for our day. Maybe a little smile. And if your eyes have been closed, inviting you to let them flutter open. Remember that we're part of this group. We're not doing this alone. We're supported by each other. And that includes those of us who are in mourning or have experienced loss or honoring people today, who are invited to join us in the Mourner's Kaddish and put the name or names of those you're remembering today. And if you're not reciting Kaddish, stay connected, stay present for those who are, and continue your practice by offering your compassionate support. And again, you can put the name or names of those you're honoring if you're reciting Kaddish in the chat now. And thanks to Jet for sharing the words of the Kaddish on the screen. And if you're reciting them, you can join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Yalma, Tizach, Yamtif, Malchute, Hayechon, Uvimachon, Beit Achal, Beit Israel, Bala, Ishmei, Rabba, Mevarach, Ela Mincha B'Shirata, Ta V'Nechamata, V'Ilad Ba'alma, Yesh Lama Rabba Min Shemaya, Alein Baruch Amen,
Shalom Aleinu,
Shalom B'Imam,
Israel,
Shalom,
Kol Yoshvei Tevel,
Israel, Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ru.
Amen.
Amen.
Friends, thanks so much for joining us today. Great to be with you. And if you're leaving us now, we hope we'll see you tomorrow. We'll end this week of practice. And so tomorrow will be our last sit of 2023. We'll be led by Kimberly Duenas of Jutina Eco, who has led us so beautifully in the past. Looking forward to welcoming her to lead us in practice tomorrow and to sit into Shabbat together here in the time of the solstice, shortest days of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere. And we'll look forward to that. So we hope you'll join us then. If not, reminding you that we will not be meeting for live sessions next week, but we'll be back on Tuesday, January 2nd in 2024 to begin a fresh year, secular year of sessions of mindfulness practice. And we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks to Jet Bachman for holding our tech space. And thanks so much, Harris Sokoloff, for sponsoring our practice today in honor of your 75th birthday, Harris. Happy birthday. Yom Huledet Sameach. I'm happy to stay on to respond to any questions or any comments or reflections in the chat. Keep an eye out for that. And so glad to be here. Let's see. Jeff, thank you so much, Jeff. So I shared my friend David Brunetti's series of phrases, now, here, this, yes, perfect, thank you. And Jeff is asking, is it H-E-R-E or H-E-A-R? They both work. I think what David intends, and the way I usually use it, is the H-E-R-E, but they both work. Now, here, this. One of the things I like about it is that in Hebrew, one of the Hebrew word for this is zot, which also in Kabbalistic tradition, in the Jewish mystical tradition, is considered one of the names of God. In fact, for me, that's like one of my favorite names for God in Jewish tradition is zot, this. Whatever this is, this moment, this breath, this experience, that is where we can find the divine. So I really love that. But take it however you want to take it. Certainly not written in stone in any way, shape, or form. Just scrolling up to see if there are any other questions about this. Harris, nice to see you get all this birthday love. That's so great. Okay. Pauline, when doing something creative, drawing, painting, cooking, writing, or whatever, it is possible for a while to be present. Is this spiritually less worthwhile than the more difficult attempt to be present in meditation? I would say, personally, no. It is not less worthwhile. It is equally worthwhile. The whole point is exactly that, Pauline, to be present. You know, the contemporary term we use is mindful, but it's really about presence. I think not presence as in gifts presence, but presence as in being here and being fully present in whatever we're doing, whether it's in conversation, whether it's in any of the modes that you're writing about, creativity, drawing, painting, cooking, writing, stuck in traffic, crossing the street. We're really adopting a stance of being open to learning what is being revealed in each moment, moment to moment. One way of understanding this is that Torah or wisdom is being revealed all the time in every moment, in every experience. We might understand that as that the burning bush is always present for us if we're looking for it. So that's a really good question, though. Meditation is just one way to strengthen that muscle. And for many people who don't meditate, that is, by just sitting or walking, you can practice mindfulness in whatever we happen to be doing. We can be doing it when we're reading a book. We might be reading, and if you're like me, notice the mind drifting away. I read something that reminded me of something else, and all of a sudden, totally forgot what I just read, and I have to come back and reread it. Can practice mindfulness by trying to stay present to what we're reading or listening to. Let's see. Can you speak more about the moment when Joseph cries? It seems that crying is the moment when something big shifts and opens for him, and so opens for Judah too. Yes. I mean, there are a couple of big moments in Genesis of, where there's a big reveal, or a moment where people break down, such as when Jacob and Esau come back together and meet each other after Jacob has been away for 20 years and comes back home, and they weep on each other's neck. Joseph, of course, cries a lot. And in this case, in this week's Torah portion, he cries because whatever it is that Judah is doing and saying is cracking through his defenses and leads to this weeping all around of the family, where there is some breakthrough, some reconciliation. And metaphorically or symbolically, Joseph later in Jewish tradition comes to represent the northern, when there were two kingdoms in biblical Israel, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. There really represents this kind of reunification of a split nation. So it really represents kind of the merger or the integration or the reconciliation or the shlemut, the wholeness that comes from after a period of divisiveness or division or fragmentation, of coming together. That's really what this story represents. Of course, by the end of Genesis, it's a reconciliation and there's a reunion and there's a oneness. It's a little bit ambiguous about how deep that goes, which is typical of Torah. It's always ambiguous because it's begging for interpretation. But the crying, I think, is indicative of something deep happening. Yeah, Harris, you're right behind Tish, just 9 years behind. You should be able to catch up within 9 years. Harris is asking, does Vayigash imply approaching with vulnerability? It seems that's where it came from and led to what made reconciliation possible. So, like I said at the outset, there's Rashi records this rabbinic tradition that understands that word as having these three connotations. One is kind of belligerent, like basically getting in his, Judah gets in Joseph's face with anger. It's as if he's coming for battle. There's another sense in which it means beseeching, which maybe is close to what you're talking about, Harris, about vulnerability. It's about like pleading, like, and he says, what can we say? What can we say to you? And then maybe that it's the vulnerability that gets through to Joseph, not the threatening battle sense. And the other is that it's associated with prayer, with praying. There's some spiritual quality, that also maybe is closer to the kind of vulnerability that you're describing. It's interesting. The word is used earlier in Genesis when Abraham confronts God about the fate of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And in that case, the language that Abraham's using is very strong, and seems like it's coming from a place of anger, where he says, how can the judge of all the earth not do justice? How can you punish the innocent along with the guilty? Won't you save those cities for the sake of 50 good people or 40 good people or 30 good people or down to 10 good people? But it's introduced by the word, again, by Yigash, that Abraham approached God in that way. So there's some element in the coming close, however we want to understand it, however you can interpret that, coming close. And maybe vulnerability is the key there. And Susan's asking, I have an ambivalent relationship with the word perfect. Oh, how about if I replace it with complete? Tish suggests whole. Also wonder if Dayenu enough might work. Again, these are just my friend's phrase. So like, you should definitely use whatever word works for you. When, and the way I understand that word perfect, and I think a lot of us, that might be a problematic word. because it feeds this sense of perfectionism in ourselves. My sense about what my friend David, how he uses that, is that when we're talking about being in the present, being in the moment, the kind of the categories of, better or worse don't really apply. Things just are literally as they are right now. So that's how I understand the word perfect, is that they couldn't be different than they are right now. This is how it is. And so the word perfect there, I think, has to do with kind of allowing that, kind of shifting into that mode, which is not easy for us to do because we're always judging and evaluating whether this is better or worse, if this is good, this is bad, this is helpful, this is not helpful. This is a totally different mode of being, of really just being with life on life's terms in the moment. And that's how I understand it. So if complete works for you, if whole works for you, Dayenu, I like that too. Dayenu, actually, that's great. This is enough as it is. It's just the way it is. I know that probably there was a time in my life where I thought, boy, that's doesn't sound very Jewish to me. Jewish is really about making things better, not accepting or allowing things to be as they are. But the paradox in this has to do with having both modes, having both this kind of tikkun repair mode of making things better, of seeing where things could be better, and appreciating or allowing things to be as they are, and that we need both. And that in a sense, Shabbat represents that Dayenu, it's enough. I'm not, we're shifting out of this mode of, I could have more, I could have less, this is good, this is bad. It's really just a mode of appreciating things as they are right then. And then the non-Shabbat time in the Jewish mode is getting to work to move things to a better place, moving ourselves to a better place, moving our world to a better place, our society to a better place, and that we need both in some sense. So, okay, I think we'll end here. As always, great privilege and pleasure to get to share our opportunity for practice together. And again, I want to thank Jet for holding our space and Harris for sponsoring our practice today. And as always, thank each and every one of you for just showing up, bringing your whole self here, and bringing your dedication to this, what we call the practice, which is essentially exactly what we're doing today, of just trying to be as present as we can be, notice and appreciate the blessing of being alive, number one, being present for each other, being present for all the challenges and all the work that needs to be done in our lives and in our world, and to do that with more clarity and more wisdom. That's our goal. And as always, wonderful to be with you. So I hope you have a good rest of your day. I hope to see you tomorrow to practice with Kimi Duenas, and many blessings, everyone. Good to be with you.